Hi everyone, my name is Adawgz and thank you all for coming to my channel. So today we're just going to be going over my Majesty Lord Blaster deck. So with that out of the way, we'll jump into the profile. So first of all, we do run 4 Majesty Lord Blaster. So he has 2 skills. The first skill is Entitlement Vanguard Circle. If your soul has a Blaster Blade and a Blaster Dark, this unit gets plus 2k power and plus 1 crit. 2k power is also during the opponent's turn as well. And then the second skill, Order on the Vanguard Circle. When your unit attacks the Vanguard, you can perform all of the following. You can choose to perform only one as well if you like. So cost, you can put a Blaster Blade from your Vanguard Circle on your soul, choose one of your opponent's reguards and retire it. And then the second skill, which is cost, you can put a Blaster Dark from your reguard to your soul, and this unit gets plus 1 drive to your turn. So the first skill actually makes the deck a little bit tanky since it's on the 15k base. Sometimes one defensive trigger can actually shut down the opponent's turn. So it's actually very solid. It's in a few of my videos you've probably seen, but I've uploaded. Just being on a 15k base and getting a defense trigger has helped me a lot. It's actually helped me sustain hand even longer and just slowly increase it where I'm in a position where I can win. And then just the second skill, the Blaster Blade on hit, the Blaster Blade with being able to retire reguards as well, by putting it in the soul is very nice too. And with the addition of giving Majesty Lord Blaster a triple drive is very scary, since again once you have Blaster Blade and Blaster Dark from the soul, your Vanguard does get a crit. So next we have 4 Blaster Blade, so he has 2 skills. So on the Vanguard Circle, when he's placed on the Vanguard Circle, you can counter blast 1 to choose one of your opponent's reguards and retire it. And if you do not retire, draw a card. And then second skill, when it's placed on the reguard circle, you can counter blast 1, choose one of your opponent's grade 2 or greater reguards, retire it. So the first skill usually does drop off quite a lot since the opponent does not commit much in the early game. So essentially it's just on one place, counter blast 1, draw 1, which is very nice. And then the second skill does come up a lot with the way that we've built this deck. We'll get into that shortly when we get to the upgraded grade 3s. Next we have Wonderful Sage Marin. So this is part of the ride line, so when it's rode upon by grade 2 with Blaster in its card name, so Blaster Blade, you can look at the top 7 cards of your deck, choose up to 1 grade 2 or Blaster in its card name from among them, reveal it and put it into your hand and shuffle your deck. If you do not reveal a card, choose a Vanguard Brave from your soul and you make it alter reguard circle. And then its second skill, which you've never really used because we've never actually called this card out, but continuous on reguard circle during your turn. If you have 3 or more units, this unit gets plus 2k power. So its first skill is just very nice, being able to find the other missing piece of Blaster, being the Blaster Dark. So we have our MLB set up straight from the first grade 3 turn. And then Mingle Brave is our starter because we need it specifically for Marin. So we do run 1 Phantom Blaster Overlord. So continuous on the Vanguard Circle. If your soul has Phantom Blaster Dragon, this unit gets plus 1 crit. And then Order on the Vanguard Circle. When this unit attacks, you can retire 2 of your reguards, choose a Blaster Dark from your soul or drop, call to the reguard circle, and if your opponent's Vanguard is greater or greater, that quad unit gets plus 10k power until your turn. So I will go into explain why I want Phantom Blaster Overlord once I go over this card here, which is Reverse Core Nurata. So Order on Reguard Circle, once per turn, when this unit attacks, if there are no other reguards, this unit gets plus 5k power until your turn, and at the end of the battle sound this unit. So the whole idea of this deck is you want to clear your opponent's board so that you can stand your Ada. We can get rid of our board quite easily because our Blaster Dark and our Blaster Blade can go to the soul, so we can actually relatively have Ada by himself very easy. In the situations where we can't get rid of the opponent's board, so an example might be Ava, or if we're first seeing, just say Nirvana, if they have the Trickstar up, we can't get rid of it, and again with Ava they have 2 obstacles, we can't get rid of it as well. So essentially we can't get our multi-attacks off, which is the game plan we're trying to do with this deck. We're trying to essentially, with Majesty Lord Blaster, when we do our drive checks, we're pretty much putting all that crits and stuff, because usually our Vanguard will be guarded from Nohada. We're trying to put all that in Nohada, make him big, and then swing twice with him. So that's the whole idea. So essentially controlling the opponent's board with all those retires and stuff as well, because you can essentially retire 3 cards, potentially every turn as long as you have the adequate amount of counter blast, and then yeah, just pressure us from Nohada. And then yeah, so the idea why we have Phantom Blaster Overlord is again for decks like Ava, Java, if any other deck has a form resist, so we can't get rid of that regard on board. Phantom Blast Overlord is the other option. So it'll still give us a multi-attacks. The Dark will get 10k, and then the Overlord will get 10k as well. So it's still a solid turn that we can do. Yeah, obviously isn't what we're aiming for, so we're aiming for doing a harder turn, but sometimes it won't get that way because fortunately we can't get rid of all the opponent's regards because they have resist. So that's why we have the Phantom Blast Overlord in here. So onto the grade 2s. So we do have 3 Knight of Peace and Quadwala. So already we get circle at the end of battle, this unit attack the Vanguard. If you have 4 or more units, you can Soul Blast 1 retire this unit. Look at the top 3 cards of your deck, choose up to 1 grade 2 or greater unit, card among them, reveal it and put it in your hand, shuffle your deck, and if you cannot reveal the card, draw a card. So this card is good being able to remove itself from the board. As I said, we're trying to set up a new harder. It's also good for potentially finding Blast of Adawgz, Blast of Blades, and a new harder, or even Overlord, if we're in that scenario, that we need to Overlord, and of course our Persona Ride. That's why you run a free Cardfight. So we run 4 Blast Adawgz, so his skill is placed on the Vanguard Regard Circle, in counter +1, retire one of your other Regards, choose one of your opponent's Regards, retire it, and this unit gets strike +1 until the end of turn. And it continues on the Regard Circle during your turn. If your Regard was retired this turn, this unit gets +5k power. So Blast Adawgz, reason why we don't run him in the wide line is he's feels more important than Blast of Blade, only for the fact that Blast Adawgz is what allows our Majesty Lord Blaster to get triple drive in return. We have to always suck him with Soul. And funnily enough, the 5k power on the Regard Circle, when the Regard was retired, we actually sometimes do use that ability, so that he can be a standalone attacker hitting for 15, which takes out a 15k shield. So he's definitely a good standalone attacker in scenarios like that too. As I said, just a very important piece from Majesty Lord Blaster as we want triple drive in return. And of course the retire as well, because again, since we're aiming to get the opponents forward, your Blast Adawgz, Blast Blade retiring, and then Majesty Lord Blaster retiring as well on top, if we have Blast going forward. So next we have Palladium Zil Dragon, so it's just the PG, not 4 copies of that. You can run 3 Palladium and 1 Auto PG, I just forgot to change it around. Next we have 4 Painkiller Angel, so at the end of battle this unit boosted, Soul Blast 1, retire this unit and draw a card. So again, just another card that we get value off, again it gets X off, draw a card, and it clears our board for an minor resolve. I was making sure when we had boosters in this deck, that the boosters are able to clear themselves as well, because as I said, we don't want boosters on board, because otherwise new rider won't trigger. And then for the triggers, we run the crits, 8 crits in total. We just use the Insult crits because, again, our Painkiller Angels and our Cardwalas do use Soul. So eventually we might run out of Soul and might have to start Soul Blasting our Darks and Blades in scenarios that can actually be really bad, because if we only have 1 each at one stage, then we don't really want to get rid of that, so that's why I run the Insult crits. And then yeah, the free draws, as I said, just to keep drawing to more pieces like our Darks, Blades, Nuadas, and OT, because OT is stupid and heals. Alrighty, for the orders, so we'll start off with this one. So it's Wisdom of Being that cleared the world. So you can play this across counter +1, draw 2 cards, choose 2 cards from your hand, fall in the Regard Circle. If the grade of each of them is less than or equal to your Vanguard, and discard them if they're not. So the reason why you run 2 of this, it does help us dig through our deck as well, begin to draw more. So especially if we have a Dark and Blade in hand, we essentially just get to counter +1, draw 2, because we're calling the Blade Dark anyway. We can sometimes do this in early game as well, depending on what we open. So just say, for example, we open a Koala, Painkiller Angel. We can generally just use this kind of +1 draw to call those out, because they can sack themselves anyway, and essentially let us dig 4 cards through our deck. So that's definitely very nice. We do run 2 of the Bravery to Stand Against, Will to Pierce Through. So you can play this with Counterblast 1. If you have a Vanguard with Blast in its card name, you can search your deck for up to one grade 2 unit card with Blast in its card name, reveal it, put it into your hand, shuffle your deck. So we don't do all this for consistency, just again for scenarios where, you know, maybe we need a blade and we have a dark in hand, or we have a dark and we need a blade in hand. But yeah, this is definitely a very kind of good consistency tool. So most of the time I'm using this order to find Blaster Darks. As I said, I want to aim to give our Majesty Lord Blaster triple drive every turn. But again, there are scenarios where I need Blade because maybe I'm trying to clear the opponent's board so I can actually set up my wider. And then for the last order, we do run one downsing of Sword of Judgment. So you can play this cost of Soul Blast 1 grade 3. You can choose one of your opponent's rearguards. Your opponent puts all of their rearguards in the same column as that rearguard on the bottom of the deck. So the reason I wanted this order specifically is when the opponent does have a full board, or doesn't have that full board, maybe you don't have Dark, maybe you don't have like a, maybe you don't have like a Counterblast, and we get rid of the opponent's like board, for example. This can allow us to clear a column. So in scenarios where it's happened a couple of times where I have a blade, so I know Majesty Lord Blaster can kill a rearguard, but then I don't have just excess Counterblast. For example, what I can do is I can use this order to get rid of that column, and then Majesty Lord Blaster can suck the Blast Blade into Soul to clear the other rearguard if they have 3 rearguards, so that new order is alive. But again, in scenarios where the opponent's a full board, instead, if you have 2 Counterblasts spare and a rearguard to retire for Blaster Blade, for Blaster Dark, sorry, you can retire 1 for Dark, 1 for Blade, 1 for Majesty Lord Blaster, and then the Judgment will get rid of the 2 other rearguards. So that's why we run the Sword Judgment. So it is quite flexible. It definitely is a very good order, as I said, just to clear boards. So yeah, that's the deck profile. I hope you guys enjoy. If you did, make sure to leave a like, and then while you're down there, why not subscribe and hit the notification bell so that when I upload another video, you will be notified. Adawgz out. See ya.